we'd only pay $4.
We're going to talk a little bit about a town that's younger than Fabius, a town that at one time didn't even exist until the railroad came through. I'm going to have a few slides to prove that to you here. This is our opening slide, and it just shows a typical scene. This is a coal wagon delivering coal. It has to be after 1924. We have electricity. And this program we put on last year, so it's a rerun for us. We had a lot of people donate images to us, and that's most of them. This is a current map of Apulia Station that shows every existing structure. You can see that it was made last year, and even Ben Turner's barns here are all sketched. And this is all information that the federal government keeps on us. And one way they have to keep track of what's going on is there's a series of photographs that the government has, so they really know everything that's happening. And this is a company that's flown over Onondaga County and taken a series of 3,000 photographs. So in the case of the Farm Service Agency, they can sit at their computers and they can tell who's growing what crops, or actually they can spot and see if marijuana is being grown in your backyard, or if you put a swimming pool in without a building permit. And this is what Onondaga County looks like. And you can actually go in and buy any one of these photographs if you want. They're a $50 charge. But the arrow points to one we're going to look at of Apulia Station, just to show you what the hamlet looks like now. And
well, there's some marijuana.
you can see the golf course here, and the firehouse up here. We have a new house over across from the Turner farm, and you can see there's a little bit of blue right there, and that's the new swimming pool. And there's enough detail on these images that you could actually zoom in and look and see if somebody's swimming in that swimming pool. Most towns haven't caught on to this kind of information and don't use it for building permits to see if somebody's built something without paperwork, but the Farm Service Agency uses it to regulate farmers and make sure they're planting the crops they say they're planting. This is the first map ever made of Onondaga County. This is an 1829 Burr map. New York State required all the towns to submit maps of all their roads, and it was put together in an atlas. And it's a little unclear, it's quite unclear, but it showed what roads we had in Fabius. You notice we have the village of Fabius, we have Apulia showing, but over here where Apulia Station shows, there's no indication there that there's any village at all, any hamlet, although there is mills listed here and in here. And this is just a close-up of that, showing Apulia has some kind of a steam mill here, and I have no idea in 1829 what that would be. But we have a stream, the Butternut Creek, running down through here, and our little lost lake in Apulia. But no indication in 1829 anything resembling Apulia Station. This is an 1852 Fagan map, the first map ever made in Onondaga County where it actually identified everybody who owned property, their home that they live in. This is Apulia. Between the Berry Road and the Matson Road, there's actually 12 homes right in that little segment. 1852, we didn't know exactly where the railroad was going to be, so this map listed as proposed. And had this been built that way, it would have gone through Ben Turner's field, across Ed Lutzinger's, and on the other side of the Butternut Valley than what it was actually built on. When they did build it, they chose to go on this side of the stump pond and go over on this side of the valley. But in 1852, they hadn't made that decision yet. That is Apulia. Old or new, that's all there was for her.
Are they identified?
Yes. And there's, if you go down the street, you'll still find 12 buildings from one street to the next. And this is a close-up of where Apulia Station is going to come someday when the railroad goes through and it happens. Boy, this mouse is... Yes. This is the stump pond. This is our sawmill. And this is our railroad that weaves way out. These maps went along 1852, 1860, 1874, and 1889. This one I had to get a camera shot through a plastic window, so I wasn't able to get much detail, but the thing it does show is that the railroad straightened out, went on the other side of the pond, and it's not indicating, well, that's not totally true. It looks as though there's some possible building right along in here. This is the sweet 1874 map, and this isn't very clear, but we're going to get into an expanded version of that. We're still listing Apulia over here, and Apulia Station now shows up, but of course it's Summit Station, not Apulia Station. Whoops. This is the first real clear shot we have, 1874. We actually have 3 sets of tracks going through town, and we're building. This is back to our present day. Our federal government took aerial photographs of most of the country in 1936. And for a number of years, these were just put away and not used for agricultural purposes, but eventually they made it for agricultural use. And these are still readily available for people to make copies of. So I thought it was nice to be able to look back in 1936, because that's the only shot we have to know what was in our village, or our hamlet. And we have our stump pond up here. Of course, we have the old mill here, which we're going to see shots of, and all the development in our hamlet. This is the mill that's on the Daily Road. Kevin Duarte and I know it as Bruce's home. Bruce passed out in the summer, but on the Daily Road, on the east side of the railroad tracks, this mill existed.
The road been cut down. In the distance, you can see a building there, the roof of it, above the guy's head right there. Above
Yeah,
the
right.
White House on the knoll now.
That's the house there.
Yeah.
That's the house that still is there now.
Bruce changed the roof line around.
Where's the railroad track as we're looking at that?
Right behind you, if you'd be standing on Daly Road at the bottom of the different tracks would be about 100 feet behind you. That would be looking east, southeast. Yeah.
Now, if you come back up to Janesville Apulia Road and look northeast, you're looking right across Frank Blaney's pasture, what used to be known as the Blaney Mill. The mill pond isn't here. You see water on this other side, and that's the mill we just looked at, and that's on the other side of the railroad. This is the Blaney Mill, which was one of our very earliest mills in town. What stands left here is the mill house. There is no mill structure. And this is a stone wall dam right here. As you drive by this now, all you see is trees. There's no indication that there was anything down there at all.
Is that stone wall still there?
There's some stones there, but it's real hard. You have to crawl right through there and then use your imagination to pick that wall out. You wouldn't see it like there now. See, we have never had a chance to look at this original postcard, and this is all information all comes off a postcard. This is a Xerox copy, and then we made a copy of that, so we don't have a lot of detail. But in the background, you can see a barn over here, which is the Lutzinger farm, and then back over here is the Hayes farm. And of course, one of the things I was always interested in is on my farm, which would be over behind these trees, I was told there was a barn a lot larger than what's on the farm now. And I've been searching for that picture. And I had hoped that maybe I could part the trees and see that barn, but no such luck. So there's a close-up of the mill house. Frank Blaney, who's in his 80s, tells us he remembers playing in that building, but he didn't remember much about it. We're going to take a look at that faraway farm, what was the Hayes farm. All my life I grew up working that little piece of land there, and I picked up stones and nails and horseshoes and chunks of metal. My dad told me there was a barn there, and it was hard to visualize it. But here is a shot of it, not off that postcard, but from another photograph that was donated to us. And here's what we call the Hayes farm. Wrong button. There. Which is on the corner of Clark Hollow and the Berry Road. That little building there. And this fellow kept a few cows, and he took hay off this hill up here. And you could barely drive a vehicle or tractor up that hill, it's so steep. And now it's all trees and you can't get up there, but that fellow was able to farm that. Whether he made a living or had another job, I don't know. We're going to take a shot at the Lutzinger farm. This shows the silo in the front of the barn. Again, it isn't real clear. But Ed Lutzinger told me he knew there was a silo there, but he never saw a picture of it, so he was quite interested in if we ever get a better shot at this one.
There's another house right in front of it too, which would be the house right in front of it, that would be the Sills house or that mill house, just right in front of the barn. Left.
Okay, over the...
Right down. Right there.
What? Kate, can I go modern and use the old style?
That's probably the same house that
I can't.
Sills was. It was either the Sills house or the mill house.
Okay, so we're still looking across Frank Blaney's pond, and we're just trying to zero in on that 7-mile image that they tell us it's probably really more like 3 or 4, but and now this is a 36 aerial view, and Ed Lutzinger had told me that the man who lived in this house worked on this farm, and he always walked in the same path to work every day. And by gosh, I think he really did.
I said white people.
Maybe he was drinking on the job. See, Kevin, your house would be right there, and there's some structures there,
Oh, yeah, 2 structures, right?
but I bet you it's not your house.
No, my house was built in 74. I dug up a foundation in the front yard, planting a tree.
Yeah.
Dug around and see.
The thing that amazes me is how few trees we see on our land back in 36 compared to what we have now. This is the farm that the Turners own now, and this is the time before the cases had come to Apulia Station prior to 1916. And a shot looking from Route 80 here, looking towards the barns, and the barns the roofs haven't been changed yet. The next shot we'll see that they've been changed. And Randy Nash, the New York State barn specialist, said that it wasn't any big deal at all for a farmer to hire that roof style to be changed. Just like buying a new roof, no big deal at all. Lumber was cheap, labor was cheap. Notice the stones in the field. It's fairly stony. Sealing Case, the son of Roscoe Case, took over this farm, and he said that raising potatoes, just seeing potatoes grow in the field used to make his back ache. Living through all those stones and picking all those potatoes. This is just some details on our town in 1845. Notice that we're running about 2,000 milk cows in that time.
8 aliens, see, that was a UFO.
And we still didn't get any colored people, not tax colored people anyways. Persons of color anyways. But we were making a lot of cheese, and the cooperative cheese plants didn't start till Civil War time. So any cheese we're making, that housewife was home making the cheese and making the butter. I'm not sure I can answer that. Anybody help us at all? The difference between neat and neat, the term neat cattle.
Beef cattle?
Beef.
Neat. Any
Yeah, beef cattle.
Meat cattle.
NEAT.
Typo.
Meat cattle.
Neat.
Neat is distinctly different than a milk cow. This is a neat.
Beef cow, doesn't have something meat.
We had,
Typo.
Typo, Bill.
I don't think so, because we see it all the time, and I've never found a place to.
They're really cool cows.
Meat, man.
Let's see, we sure had our fair share of inns and taverns at 4. 361 farmers, and what was the sheep count? Only 11,975 sheep. Acres improved, 18,000. Our town has 32,000 acres in it, so we've got half of it cleared by that time. This is just to show the history of the coal business. The majority of the railroad was built to be able to move Pennsylvania coal. And yes, in the Apulia station we had coal business. This is our first train depot, and I never ironed out the actual years that this was in service. So if anybody has any details. And of course, this is the station that we see now. In the back is the coal trestle that the Woodford brothers eventually took down. That's attempting to show more of the coal trestle. And I think the only reason I left this slide in is I was really impressed with how straight that telephone pole is.
Bill, do you know the name of the railroad? At that time it was the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western.
They lay linger and wait.
Yeah.
Can anybody answer the actual name of the railroad at the time it was built?
We
The
know it.
Syracuse and Binghamton Railroad when it was first built.
Yeah,
And a 6-foot gauge then.
yeah.
Then they interchanged there with Erie Railroad down in Binghamton. And most of railroads coming out of the coal fields were 6 foot back then. This track was built up through here to go to Lake Ontario, export coal to Canada. Yeah,
What's the age on this now?
4 foot, 8.5 inches. So it took them a day to change that over from Scranton, Pennsylvania, all the way up to Street Road. Back in,
There's quite a write-up on that, how they actually made that transition. On this slide, we see a person standing over here, and caught my eyes. It looked like he had one leg.
Artificially hollow.
Say that once again, a little louder.
Artificially hollow.
And I guess the photographer wasn't,
Huh?
I guess it really was a one-leg person.
Yes, you used to live down the road.
Well, you get the name of that guy, don't you?
I got it recorded.
Oh, okay.
This is starting some shots of the creamery. We had donated to the Historical Society the Dairymen's League records from 1911 to 1919. And all through that record, the farmers were concerned about owning their own milk plant, milk receiving plant. They were trying to buy the cheese factory, trying to buy the chair factory, and by 1919, nothing ever happened. But our records show that the Borden's company moved in, and apparently they own the facility and not the Dairymen's League. This is Apulia Station.
That's still there. See, in front bill, looks like a cattle loading chute where they probably used to load. Right in front of the building there is probably where they used to load cattle in a box car or something.
And in trying to read about the centralization of the school for our presentations tomorrow, I read the complete year of 1929 Telly Times, and in it, Arlington Garrett fined the Borden's company $250 for a fish kill in 1929, which I thought was a pretty advanced movement for our environmental issues way back then. And $250 was a pretty hefty fine at that time. So they had probably done it a number of times. And Borden's had agreed to put in a septic system to solve the problem. This is the best shot we've got of the chair factory that once was there. Large building, but we don't have much in detail. We had 2 chair factories at one time. This was the one that was directly across from the Case Turner farm, which now you can see no remnants of it at all. Ryan Lutzinger had said earlier that he remembers plowing up stones where maybe this building was. And this is the employees of our second chair factory. At one time we had a carriage shop in town. And we had the flour and feed store. It's kind of hard to drive through Apulia Station and imagine all these thriving businesses today.
West side of the tracks. Oh, we're angry about that.
And this was a sawmill that was directly across from the Turner farm. Looks to be steam powered here.
Yep.
Right out in the open. Didn't have much cover for bad weather, or maybe it was just a good weather mill. Looks like a good sawdust pile in the back. Edna Bush tells us that her father ran this mill.
Oh, yes, it did. Something burned. Kate Paget had to jump out of the upstairs window.
Of course, we lost this hotel to fire.
You ever frequent that place, right?
Pardon?
Did you ever frequent that place?
Sophie? I walked by it.
Yeah.
Was that what the name was at one time, Sophie's?
When it burned.
She had a group.
Yeah. The son of the operator at the time came to the Memorial Day parade 2 years ago and said he was able to jump out the window and save his life during the fire. and said how his father had gone to court with GLF over the furnace that had caused the fire, and after spending everything he owned, he lost the lawsuit.
That was Billy, can you back it up and show the garage itself in back? It was a Chevy garage out back at one time.
Was that the DeWire car garage?
Yeah, Henderson's were in there, and Henderson, Ronnie Madsen, but it was Dwyer's. Fry's. Down in Truxton. Was there Fry's after Fry was their last, right? Who? Harvey Fry was their last. Yeah. Don Henderson, Ronnie Madsen were in there one time. Okay.
They were moved last year.
Notice the sidewalk doesn't go by the front of the building, it goes right up the steps and back down. That's a good move,
Of course, Apulia Station is known for shipping more cabbage from any railroad station in the whole United States, as written in our history of Fabius. You can see some of the structures here from this picture. It's certainly quite a bit different now, and we only have a single cabbage grower in town.
What year is
This is, the lower portion of this building is what's left, I understand, is the Woodford's office.
What did you say on that?
I said the lower portion of this building, I believe, is the Woodford's office.
You understand this whole building burned down,
Yes,
right to the ground.
right to the ground.
Okay,
What you see over there today in Woodford is comparatively brand new construction.
okay,
I'm going to say that was about the 1940s.
okay,
I remember it very
okay.
Monroe. Clarence Monroe. My uncle, Bill Williams, was up upstairs, they were having a dance, and I heard my uncle, Bill Williams, fell down through the floor, claimed the fire, because of the fire or whatever. He got a bunged up shoulder.
Okay, so there was none of this building salvaged at all?
No,
Okay,
there's dance all over the top of it.
okay.
I want to know more about Sophie's. I heard a lot of giggling back there about Sophie.
Her name was Sophie, that owned it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I want to know about it.
So,
What you guys are all giggling about.
she had a goose.
We are in town.
I don't think they want to be recorded.
Well, we got to do some interesting part of history too, you know.
Well, we thought this was interesting.
Well, it is, but Sophie sounds even more interesting.
We've had a long line of distinguished people as our postmasters, and I erred here by ending at Judy Conway, and of course we do have a replacement for Judy.
That's a little block.
Great. Butternut.
Yeah. Look at the nice stonework. Yeah. No doubt we lost this during our New York State Good Roads program, and we improved the roads, got ready for blacktop.
it's a house that's still standing, so.
That's
On the west of the first one, the trees growing on the little house. Ray, was that, do you remember that bridge, Ray, or
Yeah, oh yeah, I had to walk to school.
was it changed, 60 when they redid the road, or prior to that?
I don't know how it's going.
Do you remember stonework, Ray, look like that?
I can't say I remember it.
I don't, if it was there when you were walking.
My mother didn't like me though.
He graduated from Tully in 54, so he was walking over it, that
Oh, now they know.
considerable before that.
Oh, there's the
You know where that house was there?
I think most of our audience does, but I don't know much about it. I should just pass this mic along.
That's where Carl Fish lived for a long
Right
time.
next, right next to where Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
West of Cooper, between Cooper's and Gates.
The other side is Gates.
That's the second one west of,
Next to Paddock.
yeah. It's on the south side of 80, it's the second one west of the creek.
Cooper was the next to
Monroe.
Monroe.
Still there.
Yeah.
And this is coming from the east into Apulia Station.
All that grandma probably. Sullivan.
This is dated 1920, but yet we didn't have electricity yet. But we have poles. Would that be just telephone?
House we call it. That first house. That's the same picture, that's looking west.
Yeah. And it makes it look like there's quite a climb up here.
Sidewalk. Yeah, but that must be the house that burned when they built that little, it must have burned down. Gauges, that's.
Yeah, that's not there again.
That's not Gauges, that's where the little house
No,
stood.
the gauges would be down.
Down this way. The last one is Rita
Cases
Cases.
is up there, and then the school is way up.
What would be the structure over here? Does that look like concrete of some kind? Or
There was a house that burned down there, wasn't
At first I remember Dexter Pat,
Yeah, Gauges, and that's not
where those little beans are.
They didn't run the roof mark.
Yeah, that they just, dirty dog.
Did. My father's uncle run the roof mark.
My place just,
Now, where is that the one across from Woodford?
I think so. Yeah,
That's
I think it's real.
Pretty good sized barn behind it there.
Yeah, barn, and of course, the outhouse and the well pump here. Yeah, I remember growing up and calling this the Alcott farm. Greta Case told us that this was the Shea farm, and she grew up listening to, was it Joe Shea? Joanne?
No, Stephen.
Stephen Shea calling his cows, and she said there was nothing prettier in the world than listening to that man call his cows.
Was that a blacksmith shop in there too or something?
Over in here.
Look back up and over.
This is some of the railroad activity. And I think Edna at one time had told me that her father was one of these people, but I don't remember which one.
See the cars to the side? That would be the church in the back. Dance hall. Plain sidewalk.
Leading right to the hotel, no doubt. Yeah. This is teams and wagons moving crushed rock for improving our roads. You can see that men are shoveling the stone right over the side of the cars into the wagons. Pretty strenuous work. Let's see. We're looking to the west.
It goes right there.
The street's quite a bit narrower than in Fabius. Not many trees either. I guess maybe this is Porter's before they got the gas pump business, got rich.
That's the old other barn.
Yeah.
White one was Porter's, really.
The white one's.
This one here?
No, yeah, white one.
That's,
That's Porter's, this other one's, other bar. Porter's store.
Okay, we've got two different opinions here. Which is which?
Well, the house there, the way in the back is that sits on South Street. See the one way to the far right?
Way back.
That sits on South Street. That's the third house down South Street. So
Okay.
looking east. That's gotta be, you gotta be in front of the hotel looking at where that's the old chili grill. Yeah, whatever.
That's the old firehouse.
Next one will be the firehouse.
Yeah, right, the white one. Yeah, really,
That's a store that was just east of the hotel,
Yes, yeah,
that way it was, and it burned down.
yeah.
Must be standing in Princess, right?
That burned in the 50s. When was the grill built?
Well, that girl was like a good, a lot of documentary.
This is just a different shot of the feed and flour store, looking to the west.
Mike, Dino.
Before the church was moved back.
Moved and raised, right? So when you go for your ham loaf dinner, you'll notice the church looks a lot different now. They've made room for you. Boy, look at how narrow this street is.
We got parking on that, so much lower too.
that's a lot of business.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Like
50,
60.
late 50s. No, late 50s.
I
I was in high school. I was in high school in that room.
1960, 1960, I think.
No.
59 or 60.
59 or 60.
And of course, we did have schools, and we kept them in good repair. This is the French school, French district school, thank you, Joanne. And it was on the corner of the James Apulia Road and the Daly Road. An earlier map shows it farther north, and then a later map shows it coming right to the corner. Whether this building still stands and is the house on the corner, or whether it's finished falling down, I don't know. And of course, we eventually got a better school. And Ray Green's going to take us on a tour since he graduated from there.
Part of it there.
Yeah.
Gotta have some more.
Where was the principal's office?
Yeah.
Where was the principal's office?
He knew.
Superintendent's office, you mean?
Kelly?
Ray, what years did you go to school in this school?
See, I must have started like in 42, 46.
And when would it have closed?
The next year, I mean, when the next class, got one more year.
Yeah. And it became part of the Tully school system. That was,
The year was the class, was the last one.
yeah.
He was.
Was it an emotional issue in Apulia Station to close the school and become part of Tully, or no big deal?
There.
They only went, what, to the sixth grade or something there, fourth grade, then they went on to Tully anyway.
Yeah. This is some of our students. This is 1924. Excuse me, I'm in the wrong school. Yes, we're over to Apulia.
Yeah, you're over the other one.
Yeah, I'm in Julius's territory now. Yeah. There's a distinct difference between school and Apulia Station and Apulia. We certainly don't want to mix those two up. It's farther to go to Fabius. I don't know how I slipped up and got Apulia into Apulia Station program.
Is this the old one that was on Cogan's?
Yeah, we know this is a Koget's chicken coop. We've got a lot more slides on the Apulia school for tomorrow. This is what I meant to have, was some of Ray's classmates here.
What year is that?
Isn't that?
On the back, or these? Yeah. Sure. Yep. Yep.
Barely was your page.
You don't know what we mean by ethics?
I recognize the name.
Let's see, look at
Wonderful driving.
Billy Garrett's husband, Arlington Garrett, with his driving gloves, okay? Dwayne Scale here.
You gotta have a Ryan in there somewhere. You gotta have all of them, some of them all.
Ken?
I think Edna actually went through these, Joanne, with us and wrote them down. No?
Not that one, she wrote the one down part of mine.
That's the way?
I like Dwayne's boots. I'm sure he didn't wear those in the barn.
That's the fire accident.
Is that borrowed from the fire department for the picture?
No, that's Norman Ladd there on that thing. On that wagon, he was crippled.
Which would be this one person in the middle?
No, there's one on the side there. Yeah,
Yeah.
with a little hat. And that might be Eddie Butler and Alfred Feldman in the front.
Okay, right here.
And that one with a hair all over, happens to be dressed up Campbell.
Okay.
The one with the head sticking up was Lena Campbell. Okay.
Give us a year.
And you will find ladies in there too. He wrote that. He had a car. He was Norm.
Where?
No, not Norm Ladd. I think he lived with us with Kelly Girl.
Yeah. Nita, can you give us an idea of what year that would be?
And let's see.
What? Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
aunt died in 92 last November. And the other one is 87 and she
Oh boy, I can't do the math.
It's 87 now.
You just say one was Charlie Boy and you got it.
I think I got the date down.
Let's see what else we have for students.
And I think you'll find that if they'll book you back. Alice Barker, Besma, was in that last picture.
It's a nice bell.
Yeah.
Where's the bell go
They
through?
went out in front, they had it.
Oh, that's right, they
thing
did.
was up in
Yeah,
front.
they did have it on.
Did they ring the bell, Ray, when you were in school?
Oh, yeah. We didn't pay anything.
Tell the truth, Bill.
Bill, might be well to mention the benefit of younger people here, that school, if they just look at the picture, is the house is on that corner now, it's rebuilt.
Yep.
Little-
That school still, building still exists and is a private residence.
Another.
Real time.
The entrance is over the. Yeah, they'd already had it. It was a one-room school, then they added on and a two-room. And I don't know when they added it on.
Yeah.
How do you like that little plaid jacket?
That's
Snake
nice, that's nice.
with a big bell in the middle.
Let's see, Ray Green is in this one. Everybody hasn't picked him out.
The big,
Nice jacket, right?
Yeah, isn't it fancy?
it was very warm. I can name everyone there. That was great.
Patty.
Look at Robert Fairchild. How about that? Big guy in the back.
Garrett Keller, Sylvia.
Hey, the guy that used to live on your farm, Ronnie, you know where he is.
Ransom?
No.
Garrett
no,
Hiller.
Oh, Garrett Miller, no.
Miller.
Third from the
Third,
left.
standing up, third from the left.
Okay. I've only ever seen him, I think, once, and that was years ago.
Yeah.
Shirley and Chelsea. Fancy jacket.
I think Ray Green said that everybody was the same age in this picture.
Look at Robert Fairchild.
Well, that's four different grades. Robert was in the ninth.
And he was 18, right?
Tell him you said that.
I wouldn't say it.
Ray, you've got a kind of an aggressive look on your face.
What?
Yeah, his-
Oh, yeah. Well, we're gonna play ball, so the picture taking.
Must have been recess or something. Yeah, haven't done.
Oh, that's the one, the boys. I mean, there's a girl's picture too.
This is a little more modern picture, aerial view.
Full elevator.
Probably 60s, 50s.
Railroad tracks here. Nita, I think this was your picture. Do you remember
Lay down.
the year on this? We have, this hotel hasn't burned yet, so it's not 1960.
I think it says 50 on
Is this the Mojang oil tank here?
Yep.
it. Yep.
So we've made our switch. We're getting ready to use oil, but we still have coal out back.
Yeah.
We're selling both for quite a while.
Yeah.
Most coal cars are,
Yep.
Well,
What?
not to interrupt, but we took down the Peter Land House last year. We were told by someone, and maybe somebody here can help us, that at one time or another, that house sat across the road and it was moved. They didn't know if they truth that.
That across the road,
I think I've heard that.
there was a, pizza store across the road, where that, where that bus.
And the bush calls.
Originally came down from Apulia.
The house right next to the church on the bottom of the photo, the one that was just taken down, they said that was across the road.
I heard that.
Where was it
Turned around.
You know, we heard it was turned around.
Exactly.
I don't know where it was over there. Probably Genevieve or Genevieve is, or wherever. Maybe it was, I don't
Yeah, we're still delivering coal. My son was 16. Delivered the last coal. I think the last coal went in Army Squires.
And give us a year.
Well, my son will be 50 in January. He was 16, 17 driving. And of course, 34 years. We've been out of it since 78.
So about 1970, right around there, was the end of our coal.
Right?
The item that actually built the railroad. I believe our last slide is supposed to be the oldest house in Apulia station.
One on the corner? Says one on the corner, yeah.
It's not there anymore.
Where is it?
I never could come up with a location for this, and I thought it was the one that the Woodfords just took down, but I was told it wasn't.
That's me, right? No.
It's on the south side of the community.
Would that be the one that, where Gage's house is now, that might, they have,
Oh, you know what?
I don't know, I'm asking.
It's that right across from Denny Cody, that the house is sat next to Bill Angus's across from Dennis
No.
Cody's.
No, there are
Yes,
trees,
yes, on the Cooper House and somewhere in here.
That might be the one that worked. No.
I can remember the house you're talking about,
That's,
Ronnie.
you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you had a hole there built to the right.
Yeah.
That might be the one next to the creek by
That was fancy house.
Gage's place.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in that section.
So that would be south side of the 80, the first one up in the creek.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it's in too good a shape, and this probably was a 1910 to 1915 photograph, so.
Gage's house was probably built according by his style. So it's probably built on that line.
But you got the slope coming down there.
I believe that's our last slide, but we'll find out. Yep. So that's all we know about Apulia Station.